Hello, YouTube. So, I am doing a political video for the first time in a long time. My God, I look so awful. I just woke up. I need to get something to drink. Yeah, I do. And it's going to be apple juice. Come on, Bear. Streaming service has something to improve your appearance, a filter like that, except for YouTube on unless you're using the mobile app. Okay, but there are actually other streaming services that are not on a mobile app. I'm not talking about that, where it fucking improves your appearance. Every other fucking one that I tested yesterday had that option, except for fucking YouTube. So there we go. YouTube sucks again. But that's not what this video is about. I'm not talking about like crazy ass filters, like, like how they are in Snapchat, like just a multitude of filters, but just something to improve your complexion a little bit, like, a simple one. No, YouTube can't do that unless you got the fucking mobile app. Holy fuck, bitch. I am one bitchy bitch today. I'm feeling it. I'm feeling fucking bitchy. Or basically, I need more of this. Okay. So, yeah, I have not been following politics, especially Trump USA politics, closely for some time. It's a horrendous headache to follow it. I did for a few years, and I had my fill. I've seen enough to know the general patterns, to know that basically I don't believe anything that is said in any mainstream media source about Trump. I don't believe anything. Uh, Now, there's a chance that something in the mainstream media might be true. It could happen, Lightning can strike too, but it's very unlikely. So I just dismiss it all, and I would get my information from other sources. What, baby? I don't know. It sounded like there was someone skulking around. Anyways, it's really hot. It's one of those nights when it's really, really, really hot. It's hot at night even, and you can't go outside because it's not safe. Welcome to Kamloops in 2023. Yeah, it's not safe outside. Not for me, at least. I feel like there's people constantly trying to get me when I go out. So, I've been warned. Okay. Anyways, like I'm saying, I don't believe mainstream media sources about Trump. Um, and I'd be questioning a lot of non-mainstream sources as well. I mean, you should question. That's for everything. You should question all sources, basically. I don't believe the mainstream media on lots of topics as well. Like it's propaganda. Okay, and even if it's telling the truth, that's probably only a half truth. There's a whole other part of the story that's left out that would put something in a different light if only you had access to that information. So it's propaganda. Okay, Like, there's no doubt about it. I can't believe, I actually don't understand why, like, how it is that more people don't realize that. I thought for sure the mainstream media was going to be done in after the past few years. Like, it's amazing. It's amazing that it survived the fucking Iraq war. Like, we were lied to by the mainstream media to justify the Iraq war, the second one. I mean, probably the first one too. I'm not going that far back. I was only a child then. But for the second Iraq war, they were caught red-handed lying about the justifications for that war. The mainstream media in the West. I remember them being on the Oprah show saying, "Oh, we should have done better," blah 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 blah. Yeah, because they were caught. So how is it that here we are 20 years later, the second Iraq war started in 2003, we're now 2023, 20 years later, and countless examples of mainstream media lying, new ones have happened in that past 20 years, let alone the first one was severe enough. Like a whole war was fought based on those lies. You know how many people died over it? Like, like, how does the mainstream media have any credibility? How? On any topics, not just Trump. Trump is so polarizing, it's best to leave him out when you're criticizing the mainstream media. More than enough stuff to work with without getting involved with Trump. They've got enough lies already. I mean, this is just the cherry on the top. It's a dumb, big fucking cherry. But, like, they have no, like, zero, less than zero credibility. If they're saying it's probably the opposite is true. That's less than zero credibility. Okay? But let's try to get focused here. I came across this article, like I just turned on my computer, and the first thing I see was an article on MSN that said, the headline says, Billy Baldwin, Caitlyn Jenner, Roseanne Barr, Barbara Streisand, and more stars react to Donald Trump's indictment in 2020 election interference probe. I have not been following. So this has to do with the January 6th, 2020 protests that were happening in Washington, D.C. as Trump was set to leave the White House, no longer president, and incoming new president, Joe Biden. It was during this transition of power that things came to a head on January the 6th. I'm not going to get involved in that, talking about that, other than to say I don't believe a damn thing the mainstream media says about it. I really don't. So I wasn't there. I was dealing with my own issues in my own life. I don't actually know what happened. I just know I wouldn't believe what the mainstream media says. Okay, and I just know that people's reactions seemed to be quite over the top. I didn't really see anything that serious. From what I saw, I didn't see anything that serious. It was a protest. People are allowed to protest. So that's it. I don't know that Trump did anything. People on both sides of the aisle, both Democrats and Republicans, have made various accusations against Trump on that day. So both sides were not happy. So I don't know how true those accusations are, and I'm not going to get into it. I just would say that from what I've seen overall of Trump, he doesn't strike me as being any more or less criminal. I mean, he's not actually a criminal. He's never been charged with a crime and found guilty. So to be officially a criminal, you do have to be legally found to have committed crimes. So that label probably doesn't apply to him. But in terms of just being sleazy and slimy, unethical, I haven't seen anything from Trump that would suggest that he's more or less unethical than any other politicians. So they're all do shady things as far as I'm concerned, and he seems to fit right in with that crowd. In the beginning, not so much, but now he does seem to fit in with that crowd of slimy politicians. But so why should Trump specifically be indicted? Why should Trump specifically go to jail? Okay. Well, let's look at the reactions, and we'll address into that. So I mean, it's an interesting cast of characters that they decided to put their reactions in. The first reaction that we see, oh, here we go. Okay. So the first reaction that comes up is from Roseanne Barr. And she says, I knew the Biden corruption news was spreading. Every time it trends, Trump gets indicted. They think we don't see it. I don't know. I mean, that's an interesting take. So that this is just a reaction to the news about Biden's corruption spreading. I'm shocked that more people don't. Is that news spreading? Really? I mean, I'm in Canada, but I don't really see news about Biden's corruption spreading around. I don't actually see that. And the people that I've talked to, Canadians on Facebook, I don't think they haven't really indicated to me about having any awareness about any corruption among the Bidens. But they do seem to be quite up on allegations of corruption from Trump. So I don't know if I agree with Roseanne's take here. Yeah. I mean, yeah, but it goes back to what I'm saying. Anything, there's corruption, it's all around. It's the name of the game for the political class in the United States, as well as many other countries. And so I don't see anything that would justify targeting Trump specifically with charges. Now, moving on. The next reaction we get is from Barbara Streisand. Trump always sees himself as the victim. He will never accept responsibility for his criminal behavior. Again, innocent until proven guilty. There is no criminal behavior to speak of. I would think that Barbara Streisand could be sued for saying this. Isn't that slander? And Trump sees himself as the victim. Does he? Because what I've seen of him and his rallies and stuff, he doesn't really put himself out as a victim, like take on some victim persona. I don't see that. Even if he's arguing that he's been treated unfairly, he does it in a way where I don't think he doesn't come across as a victim. No, he comes across as being quite proud of his accomplishments in life. So that's not really a victim mentality. I would say, though, if there's any victims in this, it would be his supporters. So the people in the movement, in the MAGA movement, just the rank and file, ordinary people who supported Trump, either in either of the last two elections, 2020 or 2016, or in the upcoming election. Anybody who is part of this movement of people. I mean, it is a movement in the United States as well as beyond, a populist movement to reject establishment politicians, which Trump was not one when he first started, but he is now. So those people are victims. Those people are victims because they're essentially, it would seem that this is about disenfranchising those who want to vote for Trump. It's about, we attack him because we're scared that he could lead to the changes that the people who support him actually want. So the ultimate victim here is his supporters, his supporters, or anyone, even if they're not a direct supporter. Like, am I a direct supporter? I don't know, but anyone who would be part of the MAGA movement in general. Okay, it's about undermining the entire movement's credibility. So it's profoundly anti-democratic. So yeah, people who believe in democracy and the democratic process. So I suppose even Democrats could fall into that category too. I mean, those are the victims, right? Democracy is the victim, because we are heading into an election year and this is going to overshadow it. And it's nonsense. It's effectively nonsense. Then we've got reaction from Trump. I hear that deranged Jack Smith, in order to interfere with the presidential election of 2024, will be putting out yet another fake indictment of your favorite president, me, at 5 p.m. Why didn't they do this 2.5 years ago? Why did they wait so long? Because they wanted to put it right in the middle of my campaign. Prosecutorial misconduct. I would agree with that. Why is the timing is suspect? It seems to be just as, the election cycle for 2024 is starting to gear up. We're a year away from, just slightly over a year away from the next presidential election. And interesting that this would be the news. It's about trying to take the wind out of the sails of Trump's movement. And so, yeah, it's, again, how is it that Barbara Streisand can say that Trump is being a victim here? No, it's the people are the victim. It's the democratic process is the victim. And Trump's comment actually says that. So he's not putting himself as a victim. Moving on. Billy Baldwin. We need to hear from him. Who will Americans vote for in 2024? Democracy, rule of law, and the future of the republic, or Donald Trump? So indicting someone that you don't like, who is your political opponent, that's part of democracy? Yeah, no thanks. I would say no thanks to your flavor of democracy, Billy Baldwin. You look horrendous as well. You look like death warmed over. Moving on. This is an interesting comment. As president, I will end the weaponized. This is from one of Trump's rivals within the Republican Party. So a Republican presidential candidate, Ron DeSantis, current governor of Florida. He is saying, as president, I will end the weaponization of government, replace the FBI director, and ensure a single standard of justice for all Americans. While I've seen reports, I have not read the indictment. I do, though, believe we need to enact reforms so that Americans have the right to remove cases from Washington, D.C. to their home districts. Washington, D.C. is a swamp, and it is unfair to have to stand trial before a jury that is reflective of the swamp mentality. One of the reasons our country is in decline is the politicization of the rule of law. No more excuses. I will end the weaponization of the federal government. I would agree with that. And that's actually really well said. So, yeah, that's what this is. That's what this is. This is about weaponizing the process to strike at someone who you don't like politically, but instead of battling them in the political arena, you're going to go and try to find some kangaroo court, some backhanded way to cripple them through bogus charges of wrongdoing. Instead of just, confronting the politics head on, let's have a debate about the issues and let the people decide. No. They can't do that. So that's what this guy is talking about when he talks about the weaponization of government. And I like the idea of replacing the FBI director. How about replacing the FBI? The way that it's written, like director is on the next line, I thought he was just saying replace the FBI. No, replace the FBI director. Okay, well, that's a start. How about the entire FBI? Like just get rid of it and start with a new one or something. Like there needs to be sweeping reforms here. But a single standard of justice for all Americans, isn't that part of the Constitution or the Bill of Rights? So the fact that that's not happening is quite serious. So yeah, I agree with those comments. Very well said. Trump. Okay, so who's this now? We're hearing from John Cusack. Why? Trump indictment here. Here's to that day he begins to rot in prison. Please drink responsibly. So you're advertising that you're a drunk. And so if this seems to be a wet dream fantasy of many on the Democrat side, that they want to see Trump in prison. If that were to happen, just think about this for a second, Democrats. If you were to get your dreams to come true and Trump was to go to prison, Here's another politician. I'm going to say a name of another politician who spent time in prison, and that was Nelson Mandela, who's essentially been turned into a god, deified, a martyr. That's what you will do by sending Trump to prison. Okay? You're going to, because again, it's not really about Trump himself, it's about the movement of people, okay, that he represents. And they're going to see their head guy in prison. They're not going to just, all these people are not going to just roll over. No, they're going to be damn angry, and they're going to turn Trump into a martyr and a god. You're going to elevate his status by doing that. So, you may get a cheap thrill by doing it, but it's not going to help you politically by elevating Trump to the status of being a martyr. Again, what has Trump done that is so nefarious that would justify sending him to prison, whereas everybody else in the political class, not? So again, it was at Trump's rallies that people were calling for Hillary Clinton to go to prison for her email scandal, right? She had all these government-related emails on her own personal computer at home with no security, or not the security that would happen if those were left on government computers or official computer servers. No, she had them on her own private home computer. It's things that could risk national security. And then I believe when this was discovered, she didn't just turn them over so that people could see what she had, or so that, she deleted them. So she was trying to hide what she had. And she's never, speaking of, those who have never been accountable for their allegedly criminal behavior, I'll put the word alleged in there, unlike Barbara Streisand. So what about Hillary Clinton? What about her? If Trump is going to go to prison, Hillary Clinton needs to go to prison too. And then I'm sure we can get a name of a dozen more politicians who need to go to prison. So where does it stop, right? That's why people used to shout a chant, lock her up, at the Trump rallies. I don't say lock her up. I say lock them all up. If you're going to lock up one politician for shady behavior, you're going to have to lock all of them up. I could get behind that, actually. I could get behind that. Lock them all up. Otherwise, it's politicization, because the process itself is slimy. Okay? The political process is slimy. So it's unfair to target one actor when it's the process that they're all a part of is the problem. So if you're going to lock up one in prison, you got to lock them all up. Okay? Moving on. Otherwise, you're going to turn somebody into a martyr. Caitlyn Jenner, another sham indictment, witch hunt after witch hunt, shame on Jack Smith, nothing but election interference. I would agree. Note that this is coming from somebody who is transgender. So all this stuff about Trump being homophobic or against LGBT people, nobody can even give me an example, though, when called on it. And here we go. Here's a prominent transgender Trump supporter right there. Moving on. I wonder what speaking of transgender Trump supporters, I wonder what Blair White's reaction was. I should check her channel out. Oh my, Rob Reiner, like as if we need to hear from the meathead himself. He totally discredited himself over the past few years. I used to like him. I love the show All in the Family. I thought he was great. But the things that he said since Trump got elected in 2016 really caused me to downgrade Rob Reiner in my mind. The Department of Justice has done its part. Now it's up to the U.S. to keep that criminal out of the White House and save democracy. So, pretty harsh words. I think you could be sued for slander. What has Trump done that's criminal? Everyone is innocent until proven guilty. There are no criminal charges that have actually stuck. So to throw that word around is pretty disingenuous. And how is it saving democracy? How is that saving democracy? assuming that everything that these people are saying is true, I don't see how this saves democracy. George Takei, I mean, this is a who's who of people who were triggered by, other than Roseanne Barr, this is a who's who of really harsh people who were at the forefront of making nasty comments about Trump. History happened. So George Takei, I mean, he's so ridiculous. It's not even funny. History happening today, folks. We are all bearing witness. Well, I guess you would be old enough to see things through a historic light. I mean, let's move on. Donald Trump Jr. Anyone else noticing a pattern here? The corrupt bureaucrats of the Biden regime charged Trump literally the day after every single disaster in Biden crime story. Rather than looking into the millions sent to the Bidens, their kids, and their grandkids from virtually all of our enemies, they go after their political enemies, knowing that their lackeys in the media will use their bogus charges to cover for Joe Biden, the most corrupt president in the history of our nation. There's no such thing as this much coincidence, and if you've been paying attention, you'll realize that we have become a banana republic, truly disgusting. Yes, this is the hallmarks of a banana Republican. Lock up your political opponents or get them bogged down in trying to defend themselves against bogus charges. That would be typical of a banana republic. And here he's talking like Roseanne about the Bidens. I mean, it's not being reported in the news, but I suppose it's some kind of information has been released about recently about how the Biden's sons and grandkids have been getting money from foreign governments. I mean, when you think about all the to-do over supposedly, allegedly, Trump being in bed with Putin and for the Russians. I mean, where was the Democrats' evidence for that? But here we have actual people in the Biden family who there's a paper trail of money showing that they have connections with some pretty questionable world actors outside of the USA. So, why not the same kind of freaking out over the way that they were freaking out that Trump was compromised by Russia? Well, couldn't Biden be compromised by China then? Not even following that logic. There was no logic to follow from the Democrat side regarding Trump and Russia. But I mean, logically, you could make that claim about the Biden family. You really, and it actually does have evidence backing it up. Now, I don't know to what extent they've been compromised, but it certainly raises the question, right? I mean, it raises the question when it also questions national security. Like maybe they're a little bit too buddy with these foreign leaders or foreign government officials, and been on the take to the tune of millions and millions and millions of dollars. Well, that kind of money gets thrown around. People do expect something in return for it. Stephen King, another triggered, just unhinged person from the Democrat side. Like he's nuts. Indictments and crimes against America aside, Donald Trump, a raging and impulsive narcissist, is psychologically unfit to be president. Simply put, he's dangerous. Are you qualified to make that assessment? Are you a psychologist? No, even a psychologist shouldn't be making that assessment. That's misuse of psychology here. Again, interfering with the political process. And just shut up. Like, haven't you said enough through your horror novels? Like, just shut up, Stephen King. I think you're dangerous with what you put out there and polluting people's minds in your works of fiction. So why don't we just turn that one back right onto you? So from former Vice President Mike Pence, today's indictment serves as an important reminder: anyone who puts himself over the Constitution should never be president of the United States. Well, that sounds like a snake kind of a comment. So you're swiping at your own president. Nice. I mean, this is why Trump performed so badly as president after being elected in 2016, is that the people that he surrounded himself with, including this Mike Pence character, were not on his team. Mia Farrow, interesting. To mega Americans, I beg you to read the indictment. Trump was indicted by a jury of his peers. You should be happy that our country survived and that bad guys will see justice. Well, at least she's at least she's directing her comments at the people, which is who this is really about. I think it's self-serving, but at least she's recognizing that it is about the people, not about Trump. Al Franken, just a Frankenstein horrible person. We must remember that Trump and the others are innocent until proven guilty. That said, it seems from the charges that they are for sure guilty. Okay, talking out of both sides of your mouth there. You sound like you've got a career. Oh, you are a politician. Okay, here's a good one. We've recently learned Hunter, this is from House Speaker Kevin McCarthy, Republican. We've recently learned Hunter received money from China, contradicting President Biden's claim. President Biden spoke with Hunter's business associates over 20 times, contradicting what Biden previously claimed. Biden's Department of Justice tried to secretly give Hunter broad immunity and admitted the sweetheart deal was unprecedented. And just yesterday, a new poll showed President Trump is without a doubt Biden's leading political opponent. Everyone in America could see what was going to come next. Department of Justice's attempt to distract from the news and attack the frontrunner for the Republican nomination, President Trump. House Republicans will continue to uncover the truth about Biden, Inc., and the two-tiered system of justice. So the stuff about Hunter Biden was publicly available information during the 2020 election. I would just add that to it. It's not like really, did we just learn this stuff? I mean, maybe there's been some new details or it's been given some official blessing of that it's knowledge. But I was reading about this kind of stuff online in 2020. Okay. Alternative media sources, yes. I wasn't reading about it in the mainstream media, no way. But that information was out there in 2020. You had to look for it. It wasn't served up on a platter for you like the way the mainstream media does. You had to search it out, but you could find that's how I knew about it, that Biden's son was probably compromised by these foreign governments receiving all this money, and that information was suppressed by the mainstream media during the election of 2020. That's election interference right there. Like if I could get it, then that means the journalists who write articles in the New York Times and mainstream media sources, they could have had access to that information as well. And they could have brought it to Americans so that Americans could have made their decision about who to vote for with all the information that was publicly available. They chose not to do that. So that's election interference. It doesn't even matter like how the votes were counted. Like the whole thing about January 6th was people saying that there was votes were miscounted somehow, that there was actual physical, literal cheating going on. I'm not saying that. I don't know. I'm just not getting into that. But just putting that aside, that election was unfair because of the media coverage leading up to it. That there was all this information available about Hunter Biden, but it simply wasn't reported by the media during the election, when it mattered during the election. So, yeah, it is a banana republic, and I suppose it's just another indicator of just how far America has fallen. That this would all be happening right now. That's all I have to say. Peace out, everyone.